Hello. I'm going to do a little comparison of hand saws in honor of my first subscriber. This person made a suggestion, why don't you compare some pull saws, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. So I'm going to do a slightly unscientific test, not only of pull saws, but I'm going to throw in some other saws. So let me focus in a little better. I have a piece of 1-inch red oak. I've made a mark 2 inches down on both sides. I can see I'm going to count the strokes that it would take to make a basically ripping cut in a piece of 1-inch thick red oak. So not your easiest cut you could make. And we'll count the strokes to make those cuts. I had made a statement that my favorite low dollar saw is the Vaughan Bear Saw brand, Vaughan Bushnell. They're called bear saws, and I'll stand by that, but I think the comparison was being made to the Irwin, and I don't think that I ever said the Irwin was a bad saw. I just think the Vaughan is better. But I hope you stay tuned to the end of this, because my total conclusions will be at the end. Again, unscientific conclusions, but my impressions will be at the end, and I think you'll be surprised at what I may say. So let me focus in a little bit better and we'll do the test. Okay, the first saw, since I made a big deal about the Vaughan, I have 3 Vaughans in the shop sitting here. This is the oldest one. I'll probably set it aside. This is the newest one. I'll probably set it aside. It's almost brand new. So it's probably going to cut. I know it's going to cut extremely well. So I'll set it aside, and I'll take the middle one and compare it to a medium used Marples. This has had moderate medium use to it, and an almost brand new Irwin. So I'm putting a used Vaughan against a new Irwin. And again, I'm doing a ripping cut, so I'm going to be using the ripping side. First thing you'll see right off the bat is the teeth on the Vaughan are smaller. They both are progressive. They get smaller toward the heel end of the saw. That's where you start your cut, supposedly. Then this gets quite aggressive. This stays less aggressive and stays smaller. So we'll start with the Vaughan. I'll count the strokes. All of them I do a starter cut. That's a given with any saw, and then I'll count the strokes. Starter, now count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Takes me to 2 inches. Now the Irwin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19. A hell of a lot more vibration. The whole thing shakes in my hand. It wants to drift off cut, and it's just that these teeth are too aggressive. You actually have to lift up to be downhill on the grain more to even have it cut well. This one doesn't seem to care what angle you're going at. Now the old Marples. It's older, it's 2 years old, but it hadn't been used much. Starter cut now ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere about, I call it 14 and a half. So these two are pretty close. But you can't get this anymore. This was sold at Home Depot. They quit selling it. Irwin and Marples linked up. And there's some mystery conglomerate from God knows where. And have they cheapened the saw? Yeah, they've cheapened the saw. They have the same connection mechanism which they copied from the old shark saws from almost 20 years ago. So that's the same. The handles would be interchangeable, but they both have about the same movement, but this had a rubberized grip, which is, to my mind, way better. Way more grippy and comfortable to use. That being said, the plates are about the same thickness. Both of these plates are about, I measured them with a digital caliber, they're both in the 20 thousandths range, 21. Actually, these saws vary, they'll surprise you. Out of the 3 Vaughns, they were all different. One was 19 and a half, one was 20 and a half, and one was 21 and a half. So they can vary. That could be my caliper too, is not a real high dollar caliper. Now, just for kicks, let's throw a mini Ryoba saw in. This is a Guayacucho Rager saw. This is a cheap saw, under $20, so it's cheaper than any of these. And I may have to tell you that maybe my new favorite is this saw. I don't know the teeth count, but they're very comparable to the Vaughn. And I measured the thickness and it's under 20 thousandths. It's about 18 and a half thousandths, so it is a thinner plate, which will actually give it an advantage. Okay, starter cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 strokes. Crazy cutter and straight line. Just a crazy good cutter. And, you know, it's a smaller plate. There's less teeth to work with, less stroke to work with. This is a great saw, so I may amend my statement and say my new favorite cheap saw is not the Vaughn, maybe the Guayacucho. And to my knowledge, I don't know if you can get replacement blades, but at $18.99, who cares? Because I know the replacement blade on these is 20 bucks. I've not seen replacement blades for these. They probably have them, but I think you could put a shark blade on this because it's going to fit this handle. And the shark saws are not bad. I don't think they're as good as the Vaughn. I don't happen to have one here. The only shark I have on hand is a general carpentry saw, and it's a cross-cut pattern, which we'll make a cut with it. We can go ahead and make a cut. Just because it's cross-cut, we'll try it, but it is apples to oranges. Okay, we're ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Much fatter curve. Good straight cut. The tear out, by the way, isn't bad on the back. It's not bad at all. The tear out on the others so far, I can't show you, is minimal. It's negligible. Now, just for kicks, let's throw the one that I'm bragging all the time, is that if you'll take a cobalt and sharpen it yourself, since the teeth are not induction hardened, you can file them, set them, do anything you want to do with them, recut them. Let's take my hand filed cobalt and do a cut. Test cut, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm trying to do about equal pressure on all of them. The plate on this is 25 thousandths. The kerf is probably nearer to 30 because I measured the set and the teeth and it's around 30, 31. The plate is 25. On these saws, your plate is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20, 21, 22 thousandths. Your kerf on the ripping part is going to end up about 27, 25, 27. So they are a little thinner kerf. Now, let's take a very old saw. Master Mechanic was an old hand tool brand, US made. It was just called Master Mechanic. They sold them in lots of different hardware stores. This is an old back saw. It's a 16 inch. I filed it for a strict ripping cut pattern. Let's do a test. Very old saw. This is 26 years old. Starter. Okay, we're ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Little bit of tear out. Certainly nothing to worry about. Nothing that'll hurt your work. Just a wicked aggressive cut and a large kerf. This kerf would be in the neighborhood of 45 thousandths probably, because the plate measures 37 thousandths. Now, if you have a home center in your area called Menards, their brand is called Master Force. They sell a back saw, at least they did. I bought this a year ago. Really nice, heavy tool. It's induction hardened. You can't do anything with the teeth probably. They're too hard and brittle. You'll break them if you try to set them, and you would need a diamond file if you can file them at all. And the Master Force is set as a cross-cut pattern. It's called a 14-inch back saw, so we'll see how it does. Starter cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm to my line in the back. I'm always stopping in the back. I think they're all to the line in the front. Darn good cutting saw. In the cross-cut mode, this does a great job too. So it's not a bad saw if you say, hey, I don't care that it's a throwaway saw. Just what can I buy cheap that will get the job done? This would be something to consider if this saw is still available, and if you have a Menards store, go on menards.com. So not a bad saw at all. Let's try a couple cross cuts, and what I'll do is I'll make a pencil mark. Find my pencil. I'll make a pencil mark 1 inch down, and I'll make some cross cuts. This saw is filed more for a ripping saw, but can it cross cut just fine? Absolutely. It's at a disadvantage to all these other saws sitting here, especially this one too. Filed strict rip cut, this is at a disadvantage. It's going to have tear out. I'll go to the line. I'll put it on my side too. Good rough idea here. Now, starter cut. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is to my line on the back here. Some fair amount of tear out, but I still don't think, in practical working terms, that's going to hurt anything. Most of the time I'd have knife lines, a knife wall. Probably not going to hurt anything. Okay, this is an old Miller's Falls. It was my granddad's. I don't know how old this thing is, 60s, 50s. I filed it as another combination type cut. More for cross cut though, because it has some clean grind to it. Let's do a cut. Starts beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful, clean, straight cut. The tear out's about equal to the cobalt, maybe a little less. Here's that sharp General Carpentry pull saw. This would be considered really a crosscut saw. Starter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 almost got it. 5's there. Fat kerf, very clean on the entry side, very clean on the back side. So excellent, excellent crosscut saw. Try the Ayacucho in crosscut side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Might be, yeah, I'm on the line, so I'm good. Excellent cut, excellent saw. Irwin starter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had a little trouble keeping it 90, but that could be me. Excellent cut, very good results. The marbles should be at least as good as the Irwin, because my premise is they cheapen this saw from here to here. There's no writing even on the Irwin blade. No tooth count, no where it's made, nothing. This at least says the tooth count, the length of the saw, where it's made in Japan. Let's try the Irwin. Starter cut. I'm sorry, let's try, this is the marble saw. So got a starter cut. By the way, the Irwin was brand new. This one has been used a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, probably 4.5. Got me there, maybe 5. So not bad. Let's try the Vaughn. Starter cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So virtually the same cross-cut qualities and results with this saw, but that's not the only criteria. This handle's the best one of any of these. This screw tightens and it's rock solid. This does have replaceable blades. I'm unsure if the Irwin has. I've been told they do not have replaceable blades. You just buy it, but they may. I'm saying you can put a sharp blade in this handle, but now we're talking about a whole nother saw. So and I haven't tried a new shark blade. I assume they still fit because this handle looks identical to a shark handle. I should try that. This one has a screw fit, so I'm not sure about it. These are replaceable. I don't know whether they have replacements. They look to be replaceable. You can definitely pull the blade out of the handle. Rubberized handle, just a wonderful, wonderful saw. And if you're looking for something in the shop for joinery, this is a real consideration. This is a real consideration. These I'm not so pleased with because of the ripping performance, the vibration, the shake, the aggressiveness of the teeth. Does that make it a good joinery saw? Well, no, because 50% of your joinery is ripping. The other 50% is cross-cut. These do fine. This does fine in both. Replaceable blade, more solid handle, and I just like the length of the handle. I like the feel, the solidness of it. I like that there's very little to no vibration. So these two get my vote for Japanese hand saws. I'm not saying if you can get a marbles, I don't think you can anymore, because I think Irwin has come in and busted that up or something, and this is the company now. But if all you can get is these, fine. You can do worse. Your best bet is a Cobalt for the money and file it yourself and use this thing for years and years and years. You know, you'll get 5 years easy out of this saw. And if you bought, I go through 2 of these a year, so that's at full price, that's $60 a year. In 5 years is $300. I'm still going with a $12 saw. So at some point I'll run out of room to file it, and then you throw it away. And I wouldn't throw it away. I'd cut this and make card scrapers out of it. But this is a good straight cutting saw. Very little effort to do that, and I'm nice and straight. I'm able to make good cuts. The only reason it has a little bit of vibration there is that it is a rip pattern. And hence you get a little more tear out in the back. I have one of these with not so much rip pattern in it, and it does pretty good on the cross cut. It's a newer saw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm down. A little bit of tear out, but easier to saw with because it has more set in the teeth, which makes the plate clear better. And this saw is older, This saw's done a ton of cutting. This saw may be ready for sharpening, actually. Incidentally, sometimes I use an old gent saw. This is 25 years old. Really old saw. It would be comparable to the Crowns you see, the Two Cherries, and some of those brands. This has been filed by me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good clean cut, good straight cut. Tear out is very minimal. So this is a good saw. It's just small capacity. So these are all considerations. I know this is unscientific. My conclusion still stands. This is the way to go for money alone. These two are very comparable. If you're looking for true compact size, take this out. This is a great saw. I can't vouch for the lifespan of how many cuts you're going to make with this, how many months you're going to go with this. These I use really hard daily, and I get about even after a year they still cut, but I tend to break a tooth off or something happens, they get duller, and I would replace this probably at least annually, probably more like every 6 to 8 months. They both can be taken apart, fitting into toolboxes. They both come with protectors. You can keep those on the saw. If you're looking for true compactness and really a wicked, fast, clean cut, the Ayacucho is a good little saw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just a great cut. Both sides. A little bit fatter kerf. The set in this, I'm guessing this kerf, because of this set, is somewhere in the 30 thousandths range. And that can be a good thing. On dovetails, you may want to get your coping saw in there and be able to turn, and the thinner the cut can actually work against you. So those are all considerations. You have to think about what you're using the saw for and how you like to do dovetails, etc., etc. So thanks for watching. I know it's not very scientific, but it does give you some idea of these saws, and I'm hoping to at least back up what I claimed about these two saws, and I'm now throwing this into the mix as a super quality saw. None of these are bad saws. None of them are bad saws. Even my least favorite, which would be this one that I can't do anything with the teeth, this is a good cutter. This saw, I think I gave $9.99 for this saw a year ago. It was either that or $10.99. I know it wasn't over $12 or $13, but I can't quite remember. But there's nothing wrong with this saw. It's just, in all likelihood, it's a throwaway. And it's a shame because it's heavily made, it has a good handle. It doesn't make sense to me. If they would put carbon steel plate on this and I could sharpen this, now we're getting back to the good old days, like this Miller's Falls. This saw, I kid you not, this saw is as old as I am. It's at least 50 years old, but it's probably 60. And I'm going to be 53. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see what people want to talk about. Thanks.